So it's been a couple of days and ain't done nothing. Well, ain't done nothing in the gym. I was asked what my morning routine was and if I could film it. Now, I probably can these days, but I haven't been doing them for a little bit because it was so dark when I was doing it that it wouldn't have been anything worth recording. I didn't have this fancy camera and I had an old phone. As you know, old phones, cameras, whew, a little hard on the eye sometimes, so I wasn't going to go put you guys through that. So I will try and get that out to you guys in the next week or so, in the next couple of episodes where I do my morning routine. They're probably not too important, not too fancy, nothing too flash in there, because I sort of tend to do it really quietly. Not going to do so much talking or anything like that, but I'll try and add a little bit of that to you guys so you at least understand what is happening or what I'm doing, why I'm doing. Otherwise, the last 3 days have been spent one gym session or gym type session at home, and the other two just morning routine with burpees, and that's it, apart from the morning routine, but basic stuff. So today I'll be doing this for probably about 10 minutes. I won't subject you to listening to and watching it all, so it'll just be maybe just a few extra minutes. Then I'll pop into the gym and do a bit of an arm recovery type session, because I was doing a whole bunch of physical labor work all weekend, including really late nights, like 4 or 5 a.m. home after pack up and clean up and whatever. I don't go out drinking. I'm not a binge drinker, partier at all. So that's not, if I say I'm having late nights, what I'm talking about. The majority of today's videos are going to be arm-based, simple stuff, because I can take quite a decent amount of load with my arms without getting too worn out. I'm only on about 4 or 5 hours sleep tonight, and only 3 or so last night. So probably not going to want to get sick. My immune system is telling me through the measurements and the graphics and stuff on this ring that I am susceptible to catching a little bit of a bug or a sickness. My immune system is a little bit low right now. So I'm not going to push it, but I still want to try and do something. I know what I can do that's not going to be too much of a issue or hindrance or too physical or hard on my body. So I'll just be doing stuff like that. I will not be doing the stepper today as a result of this physical strenuous labor work over the weekend. I'm extremely tight in my right hip, my right shin, and both heels from doing so much walking. I think I walked the equivalent of 39 kilometers according to this little device, which is 39 divided by 1.6, whatever, 20 something. That's almost like a half a marathon. I'm walking over the weekend, carrying weights and bits and pieces, well, things that weigh versus weights. So I'm a little bit worn, a little bit stuffed out, but it'll be what it'll be. I'll make a little bit of a shout out to some of the people, friends, old school friends I didn't realize they're still following or even were around, popping in and saying congratulations on starting this channel. I think it's super cool. Oh, and my mama told me not to chew gum while I'm on camera, so go do that. Thanks, Mum. And here we go. It's probably about 5 minutes worth, so I'll do another 5. I won't put you guys through the torturous, meaningless conversations that go on in my head during this type of cardio-based training or exercising. It ain't good. Mike's in the house today. Mike was in the house literally telling me I didn't need to leave the house. It is early afternoon now, just after lunch. So Mike been around for a little while. If you guys don't know who Mike is, check out one of my previous videos where I speak about him being that little guy in my head at all times telling me to do the bad thing or not to do the thing or to it'll be okay type stuff. And I'm constantly battling Mike. You can call him whatever you want. It's not really an alter ego, but it's definitely another little side of, I believe everybody has this little voice that speaks to them. I think you have two actually. You have, what they say, essentially the devil and the angel on your shoulder. Devil on one side, shoulder on the other is how we grew up understanding it back in my generation. Yeah, so Mike is my little devil. The devil mofo. But anyway, I'll see you guys on the floor. Okay, so this is going to be a little interesting as far as the volume is concerned, and the sound is concerned, because right above me is a speaker and it is on quite loud. So let's see how much this software I use can drown out these songs so that I don't get any issues. But I'm trying to maybe do a little bit less talking just for this exercise. Essentially, this is just a warm-up. I like the machines as a warm-up because then it means that I'm going to be isolating the shoulder first, but I'm not really cheating as far as maybe if I was using a bar, pulling or pushing or whatever with one arm more than the other because the other one's sore or tight or whatever. So I like machines for most training in general. I do always and always have incorporated dumbbells, barbells as a whole. So it's not like I just use machines or just use barbells. I'm not an extremist in philosophies and training of being only about dumbbells or only about pit bulls or only about barbells and machines. I kind of try to do a little bit of everything. I rotate around. I don't do phases in which I'm a barbell phase for 3 months and then I'm doing a dumbbell phase for 3 months. I kind of just mix it up on the day. Also depending on who's in the gym, what exercises and machines are being used. Where it's a little quieter on the side of the gym, it's quiet as well, because this isn't exactly a like filmer type gym. There's not really many or others that are out here doing this, and I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable or feel like they don't want to be inside a camera shot or an angle or something, so I stick to the quieter side of the gym. It's big enough that I can find at least one exercise machine somewhere that's not gonna have too many people in crossing the paths or asking me not to be inside of a video, which has happened before. All right, another round. This is just constant pressure, so I'm not fully relaxing at the bottom each time. I'm keeping the pressure on because it is just a warm-up. And yes, you're gonna see traps being used, shoulders being used. I'm also pushing down on the handles to create a little bit of that kinetic energy transfer I talked about in the previous video. I'm just trying to put a bit of blood in there, just trying to move them around a little bit and not get too much energy wasted. With the type of training I'm doing at the moment, I'm not trying to bulk up. I'm not doing any bulk shred. I think that terminology has been overused a lot in general, but it's also not at all where I'm at. I have a lot of respect for people who put their bodies through competitions of training, and even, to be honest, being on YouTube or something is as strenuous as competitions. People are just as strict on YouTube because it's their living and they've got to keep themselves in good shape and stay responsible to lead by example, which is essentially what I'm trying to do here a little bit, share a little bit of what's going on in my mind and my knowledge, because there's no point in dying with any of this stuff, but also trying to get out there and connect with people, help, encourage, which is probably my biggest thing, is just trying to fucking encourage slightly older men and women to not fall off and be involved in some sort of health, fitness, routine, regime, lifestyle. Bro, we are not halfway through our lives at 40.
as they tell you. Don't listen to what they tell you, bro. Do whatever you want to do. Be the outlier, be that one guy that's a little different in your circle of friends and your clique in your community or your neighborhoods. And you'll be surprised how many people you'll influence for a positive and how much that helps heal the heart or soothe the heart if you're broken. But yeah, just trying to make sure we're presenting ourselves, our best selves in every occasion is something that I look forward to doing. I find faults in myself and others, but myself mostly on a daily basis. I'm not self-talking all this rubbish. Don't talk to yourself like that. Self-talk, isn't it? Nah. I'm not a believer of that. I don't subscribe to that that side of thinking. It doesn't exist in my world and in my mind. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in yours or in others. I'm not ignorant of that fact, but it doesn't affect me. I'm not really gonna take self-proclaimed insults, I guess, in a way. I ain't taking so personal. I use them as a little bit of motivation. I do talk to myself in a negative quite often, but that's to be using more of a motivation to pump up, to get shit done, not to be a pussy, come on bro, like this kind of stuff. It might be considered negative and it might be considered a little sketch of some sort, but I'm not suggesting you guys do that, but this is me just telling you guys what I do. This is how I do it. That'll pretty much do it for this one. I'm warm. Okay, so found this little machine in the corner, seated row, old school. I'm gonna use this for warming up a little bit more of the biceps. Since I warmed up the shoulder a little bit with that previous exercise, I'm gonna do this one for a little bit more of a bicep warm up. And then I'll go and do some dips or something to warm up the triceps, or the pushing. And then what I'll do is probably just a couple of exercises of biceps, triceps, and shoulders each, running through with, as I did last time, a warm-up set, and then one sort of maxed out set. Not necessarily heavy, but max reps at some point. And nice and simple, maybe 6 exercises from there. Let's see how we go, but warming up first with a compound bicep base. So if I'm pulling with my arms only, I personally get a lot more bicep recruitment out of that. If I was trying to isolate lats, I'd be doing more of this with my lats and keeping my arms slightly bent and then coming back with a pull at the end, but keeping my arms not fully locked out and then bending. That's if I was doing lats. I'm not in this exercise or this instance today. So this is purely just, for me, more bicep. Back for sure, rear delts for sure, but biceps as well. Nothing fancy, little twist just because the machine allows it. I feel comfortable with it. No bowing. I'm doing that kinetic energy transfer by pushing through with my heels and feet here. Nothing crazy, nothing too heavy. Keeping stuff pretty simple there. I'll not put you guys through the torture of watching me do this 4 times, 5 times, 4 times more. So I'll cut off here, maybe one more set, and then do the other 3 without y'all. Okay. Purely biceps, even though it's not. That's my thoughts. This is a warm-up. Because if I'm thinking about it being a back exercise, I'm thinking I ain't doing it right. And I'm thinking this isn't heavy enough. And I'm thinking so if I'm just thinking, all right, biceps, warm-up, compound, pulling movement. All right, I'm definitely activating some biceps and I can feel it. So we're good with that. Okay, warming up. Some blood in there, forearms and grip. So I'm gonna move maybe a little bit more, maybe 1 or 2 plates more over the next three sets. But I'll see you guys over there for some. Right, dip machine being used. Well, actually, a couple of pillars are just behind it, so I can't really do too much with it. So I'm gonna be using this instead. I just tested it. My knees don't hit the bottom of the step, so I should be okay. Right, it's a little tough to talk during a dip like that with all my body weight sitting there and probably shaking, as you may have seen. So I'll do a little chatting in between the sets and sets instead of during the sets. But with the dips, what I try and do is cross my legs. I find that helps me a lot, and then I arch back. So I try and stick my butt out, and I try and get my feet as they're crossed and knees bent to pop up and behind me, almost like I'm doing a reverse arch, or I'm arching my back, or like a C, trying to make a C, like a letter C. What that does for me is activates my glutes, because I'm trying to lift my legs back this way. I'm activating my glutes, and my glutes will take a little bit more of that weight and that pressure instead of the low back when I'm doing the dips. One of the most vulnerable joints in the body when you're working out is your hip area, the separation between the torso and the legs. Since the legs are sitting on 2 different axes, and the torso is one trunk, there can be a lot of torsion and pressure and tension on that point where the one splits into 2, where that one part splits into 2. Because the back is in the center of those 2, so it has to distribute the weight evenly, either side, front and back, to balance out. So when I have my glutes working and functioning, my low back can take a little bit more of a rest in stabilizing, and therefore I can get a little bit more out of the weight and the work up in the shoulders and the triceps and the wrists and the forearms. Now, that doesn't mean that the rest of the body isn't working, because to stay arched like that is a little bit more of an effort. You may not be able to do it at first, but trust me, you will be able to get there as you get stronger. So just kind of keep trying that. But you'll see a little bit more now, because I'm about to do my second set, and now you know what you're looking for. So keep an eye on that. Okay, so it's not as evident, I'm realizing, I think, probably from this angle, how much I'm trying to arch or how much I am arching, but I'm trying to arch, whether I am or not is the point. And what I'm trying to say, so that you can keep those glutes activated, those hamstrings lifting, because you bent the legs, the hamstring are on, and because you're pushing yourself backwards, or those feet backwards to try and get that C, then the glutes will be on, your low back is on, glutes taking more work and more load. There's some pecs involved in this. It's like a decline press technically. And because I'm slightly leaning forward and angling my upper body because of the C formation I'm trying to make, then yes, you're going to be getting a little bit of chest work in there too. This isn't a chest warm-up. This is a pushing and tricep exercise warm-up, but it's a compound, which means more than one joint. So I'm going to be utilizing, obviously, a number of exercises in that. So yeah, I'm gonna do 2 more of this. And like I said before, and for the sake of the battery, as we found out last time, one battery doesn't survive a whole session. I'll cut you guys off here and see you guys in another 5 or so minutes after I've done 2 more of these, where I will start to do the isolation. I'm gonna start with Probably tricep extensions, just here, since everybody's down that end of the gym for now. So I'll see you guys at tricep. Right, so I made it over this side of the gym where there was no one. And now I find myself surrounded by people. But it is what it is. So with this, as you can see here, there's a bit of a bench. So you can lean on. That'll be that kinetic transfer that I get from this exercise will come from me pushing my torso back on here. And what I'll do in order to get a little bit more of that pressure is I'll bow forward. But also, if I show you from this angle, I'll be trying to extend this way, not this way. I will be doing a straight down tricep push down at some point, probably over there. But because this one has that leverage that I can put on here and get a bit more of that kinetic energy transfer, I'm gonna do it this way, almost like as if it's a skull crusher angle, sort of from the head and up with a little bit of backwards. I'll be doing that kind of movement, even though I'm not in a prone, supine position. So this will be a little bit different, but same kind of tension overhead and leaning forward, bowing forward. Trying not to really get the elbows to move too much. I am leaning forward so that that doesn't happen and the weights don't hit themselves on the bottom. So pushing forward as well as down on that angle. You can probably see by the cable angle. Got a little bit of the shakes going, which is always fun. That tells me my energy is down because the stabilizers aren't able to do what they're supposed to do, which is what those shakes are about. So might have to adjust weight or reps. Anyway, that was the warm-up. Now I'll do one set of this exercise. A little heavier. Probably go down a couple of plates, to be honest. Something like that. Okay, went down 3 plates. And I'm trying to crank out a pretty decently heavy, decently hard set. I'm gonna push myself probably about a good 80-85% in this with this weight. So not saying 85% of this is my weight, is my 85% of my weight, the 1 RM weight. I'm just gonna say at this weight, I'm pushing 85%. And I'm gonna find out whether 85% is 7 reps or 17 reps. That, I don't know. I don't jot things down, which is probably something I recommend if you're new to do. I tend to have a bit of a decent sort of photographic memory as far as weights and machines. I've just never done this exercise like this before, under this training regime of warming up with a lighter weight and then 1 big heavy set. So let's see. Plus I'm exhausted, technically speaking, so not that that's an excuse, but something to be wary about. That'll be why I won't have all the physical energy that I am hoping and wish that I had. But anyway, let's crank this bad boy out and see what we get. Abs are on, into the shaking, so I won't put you guys through that and talk too much. Three more. 18, 19, 20. And that was for Stefan. All right, so 21. Tells me I can probably do 1 more plate than that my next time I do this exercise. So, tricep push down. I'm gonna go with a bicep curl. I believe there's a bicep, oh, okay, there's a bicep curl machine just here. So I haven't done this one in a very long time, since I was back in another state. So let's do that. See you guys literally on the flip. Okay, so bicep machine. Haven't done this one in a very long time. I'm not gonna lie, I like this machine quite a bit. Well, not the specific machine, although I don't mind this machine, but I'm saying that I haven't done this type of machine in a while. So let's see how all that feels. I see why I didn't like it before, but here we go anyway. All right, about 10, 11, 12, whatever that is, for a decent little warm-up. Crank that bad boy up, down in weight, sorry, up in weight, down in plates, and crank out a decent set out of this. With this exercise, what I'm trying to do is make sure that my elbows are on these pads. So these pads on this machine are what makes this machine, I think, pretty cool, pretty good. Unique at least. It does allow you to, well, allows you not to be able to push and move the elbows back past that center point of the torso. So it helps me be able to keep a decent sort of posture there. What you'll see is I do on purpose rotate my shoulders forward. It's because I'm trying to warm up and keep that bicep, especially around the joint of the elbow, a little bit more isolated. If I was standing, then I'd be pulling shoulders back and doing it more this way, as you might see in the next exercise. But my elbows will be behind my torso, behind the center line of my torso, which in this machine it doesn't allow me to do. So then it becomes this awkward position in the shoulder where the shoulder can't go where it wants to go to feel strongest for this exercise. So what I do is I put it there, even though it may not seem like good posture and good technique as far as the shoulder is concerned. On this machine, personally, with my shoulder issues, as I've talked about in previous videos, that helps me be able to lift a little bit more weight comfortably and not feel too pressured and sore. So it's not anything that I think you guys need to be doing, but give it a try, see if it works for you. Within reason on the weight, so you're not doing the heavy stuff on a new trial of a technique, work your way back down on the exercise weight-wise to be able to build yourself up on the exercise, maximal exercise, tension and pressure on the muscle later. So here we go, elbows on the grips, back but shoulders forward. So it's a weird one because I'm pushing back for that kinetic energy with the tricep, with the elbows, but I'm letting the shoulders pop forward, but then I'm keeping them locked there by pushing back with my back and my legs in that position. I'm not rocking and I'm not floating in the middle of nowhere. I'm standing back on the machine technique, elbows here, and just curling from there. Oh. 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 An awkward 16. Wow, okay. Yeah, that got me good. So that really got the bottom part of the bicep there near the joint, as I was talking about before, connecting that joint. So what I'll make sure I'll do is make sure I hit the bigger side of the head, the bicep head, in the next exercise, which means I'll probably have to do a hammer grip, which is a straight up and down grip versus a curl, horizontal curl. So I'll do a hammer. I can't do that with a bar because the easy bar doesn't have it, it has a 45. So I'm gonna do dumbbells. But that's my bicep, done my tricep. So I'll do a shoulder. I'll do a shoulder, so a couple of dumbbells down here. I'll pop down into the cage and do my variation and version of a lateral raise. Okay, so this is my variation and version of a lateral raise. I don't do it supinated. I don't do it pronated. I do it supinated. Yeah, so I do it supinated.
but I rotate. So what you'll see from the back is my shoulders going forward here and then backwards here as I'm rotating the shoulder here with the forward and back. It allows me to recruit a lot more of the shoulder girdle, the shoulder joint, and every little small little muscle that sits inside that joint that stabilizes the bones in order for the big meaty muscles on the outside to do the lifting, because the weight is technically heavy for those little muscles. So I'm not just working those little muscles, I'm working the big muscles with the movement of the weight, but I'm utilizing the smaller muscles' stability and control so they are being used at the same time. That's general. Most people are going to be saying, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, that's what all the joints and stabilizing muscles do. But in this condition, in this position, I'm trying to move them as well, not just isolate them. So you'll see what I mean. All it is, I'll do the example facing this way. The shoulders are rounded and then they rotate and pop up. And as I rotate my shoulder, I also rotate the wrist, therefore ending up with supinated grip, which means palms facing up as I raise up. I'm not raising up all the way, which you see some people do, because that would recruit a little too much trap for me. So just here, my elbows are still below my shoulder joint, but the dumbbells are slightly higher than that because there's a slight bend at my elbow. Shoulders are rotating forward and pulling back. Rotating forward and pulling back. All right. Okay, so there's a little bit of bicep being used in that. I feel the bicep as I'm holding the dumbbell in that slight bent elbow position at the top of the movement. There is some bicep work in there, which is cool as we're training biceps. I'm feeling rear delt a little bit, a bit of a burn in there, which is good because that means that the rear delt is being recruited, as a lot of the times during these isolated lateral raises, the rear delts aren't, and people go into the trap instead. So this allows me to, the trap being used, but the rear delt doing more versus the other way around if, for example, you weren't rotating your wrist or doing it with the exact technique that I'm talking about. It took me years to figure this out and a lot of repetitions to master it. Not that I'm a master of it, but to master it in the way that I'm able to show you guys today. So don't think of something like that you can do straight away. Work your way through. As I taught one of my buddies, Jeremy, cheers bro. As I taught him a while back with this exercise, start really light. He's a big, tough, strong guy. He can push probably as much, if not more weight than I can. But we started really light, even though I'm still only doing about 20 pounds. We started him off on the 10s just to get that technique. So he could learn to rotate the shoulders forward and back without arching his back, without losing a bit of that posture through his spine. Not that he was doing it, but we're trying to catch injuries and prevent them from happening versus trying to resolve the injury later. Something I call prehab instead of rehab. So yeah, he had to go right down just to learn that, but within a couple of weeks, he's back at a sort of decent weight. It's not a bulking exercise, so he'll be doing probably the normal, typical pronated version of a lateral raise if he was bulking and lifting heavy. But this is just a movement-based warm-up, and for me, as I've told you in previous videos, I don't do heavy shoulders. I've got decent size in my shoulders, I'm happy with them. I just, at the same time, injuries, I want to be able to keep training. I want to be able to share, talk to you guys, and keep this routine up. So just getting bulky and heavy by doing heavy 50s over my head or something is absolutely contradictory to the overall mission of why I'm here. Enough talk, decent little rest. I'm only going to pop up a little bit in this weight. In fact, I might even stick to the same weight because I just realized I don't have the next weight up to do my heavier, harder set. So as I said, this exercise is not a heavy weight set. It'll be heavy and hard on the muscles, but it doesn't mean it's a big ass heavy weight.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll face you guys on this one so you can see a bit more front on. Rotate and up. I won't look you in the eye because that would be awkward. So I'm gonna look at this one instead. Controlled. As I'm lifting the dumbbell up, I'm almost trying to depress and keep my shoulders down. Contradiction in the movements, I know, but keeps the posture and the technique running well. Six, 5, 4, 2 more, 1 more. Yeah. Right, so I was gonna do the tricep, but I'm actually gonna do that after because someone's using the little grip, the little rope. Sorry, the little grip, the little rope. I was wanting to do a tricep, somebody just started a set. So I'm gonna skip that, go straight to the bicep, and do the tricep after. So the bicep, as I said before, I'm gonna use dumbbells. I'm gonna do a hammer because I wanna target the upper part of the bicep, as the bicep is quite long and I hit the bottom half earlier with the previous bicep exercise. I'm gonna try and hit this, and this will do it. So warm-up set, nothing too heavy, nothing too crazy. Biceps is not something I train regularly or try to train, so I'll just be keeping this pretty simple. So feeling that in all the right places. I'll stick to that kind of technique for the next set. Probably just face you guys for a slightly different angle, which will be contradictory to every guy ever doing biceps and not staring at themselves in the mirror. So I'm gonna try and go against my nature as a guy and look at myself in the mirror while I do this. So apologies for any facials. And I'm gonna go a little bit heavy because I feel like it. So yeah, that should be interesting. All right, with the bicep stuff, just a little bit of technical. With the bicep stuff, just a little bit of technical stuff to go along there. I'm gripping the bar and squeezing the bar as I'm lifting. And although I'm not relaxing and letting it go completely, obviously, as I'm letting go or putting, the dumbbell back down, I am letting it go a little bit to the point where at the bottom of the grip, my hand is actually relaxed a little bit. So even though it's down here, I'm relaxing it a little bit and then pulling it back into a grip as I'm pulling and going this way. My wrist isn't doing this in the exercise. I'm just trying to make the angle look like it without you guys losing focus on the wrist. So I'm kind of letting the fingers go a little bit and then bringing them back in and squeezing and letting them go a little bit. It's not as much as I'm over exaggerating for the example. It's not as much as this, but that is what's happening inside my grip strength, inside my hand muscles as I'm letting go, almost like as if I'm just holding the weight without it being squeezed, because I want to overemphasize that squeeze when I'm doing the actual curl. That keeps any little injuries popping up on the lower part of the arm from heavy bicep work, as I've figured out over the 20 plus years of training personally. So in saying that, that's a little part you guys won't see on the technical side, but that's what's happening. You might not be able to spot it. If you want to zoom in at some point, please don't. Camera work isn't that great, but you'll see that if you do zoom in. All right, not procrastinating and talking. I'm gonna move up the stack. Okay. Realize I just grabbed the wrong weight. There we go. They all look the same. So This is for all the marbles. Unlucky 13, they say, but I am a contrarian. 13 is lucky. All right, so that's definitely hitting the part of the bicep I needed it to hit. So I'm happy with that. 13 was heavy. I just did realize that my grip is probably lacking a little bit, and that I felt like I might have had one more rep in the curl, but not in the grip. So that tells me that the grip is either a little bit more fatigued or weaker. It's not something I typically have an issue with, so that would say it's not weakness. And then my brain will figure out that those 2 heavy days of hard work I did had me using my grip a lot while I was walking. As I said, I was carrying heavy bits and pieces, so the grip is a little bit more fatigued. And I have been using it with some of the pulling as well as the curl. So yeah, I'm gonna hit that tricep isolation workout exercise with the guy. All right, so this is the grip I was talking about. A nice little hand grip on it, and very unique for the tricep, which I like. So I'll be trying to pull that bad boy out for you guys. I don't know if you're gonna see too much of this. But yeah, I'm trying to show you as much as I can as far as its ability to do a little bit more of a better job. It's got a small grip on the bottom, so I can really grip it. It wraps around the inside, the palm of the hand, and has small little grooves for the fingers, so I like it a lot. Okay, so this is that tricep push down with the elbows staying still, which is the opposite, well not the opposite, but the second part of that one I was talking about earlier. Slight bow at the knee, the back, and bend to the knee. Just a good foundation. Keep pushing into the ground with my feet so I get that kinetic energy transferring back up. It's not too heavy of a weight, so I'm not getting a lot of energy coming through there, but at the very least, I'm getting that movement and the pattern recognition through the body by having that same routine and pattern I'll be doing later when it gets a little heavier. What that'll do, triceps are feeling it. And almost double that weight. What the? Okay. That's pretty much gonna be that movement, that exercise. Nothing too fancy, nothing too flash. Just a different grip and making sure the technique is strong as far as being able to bow forward slightly with my back and slightly bent knees. I don't do too much of this straight up and down one. I feel like there's no way for me to use some of that kinetic energy stuff that I talk about a lot. And that's how I like to train, from having done performance training before as an athlete and as a coach. That kinetic energy transfer for me is a big key and a big important part of almost anything I do. Even if it's just an isolation with a dumbbell seated, I'm still using some form of kinetic energy transfer for stability. As energy passes through the joints, it typically loses more of its energy as more joints get introduced. So of course I can't obstruct that, and I can't stop that sometimes in most movements. So I try and at least give the energy back somehow, somewhat, in some manner. I'm sure that's science. Not sure what the name of it is, because I frankly don't give a flying hoot. I know how it works anecdotally with clients, with athletes, and myself being a coach and an athlete as well. So that's just how I'm going to do it. That's how I roll. I'm a little old school. I don't fall for all the mumbo jumbo. I think for myself, for the most part, at least in the gym. Contrary to some of my other decisions made in life, I have a little bit more of a think for yourself and think for myself, and we can agree to disagree kind of attitude in the gym at least. So, in saying that, I need to shut up and lift the weight. Okay, we'll scrap that one. A little stronger in the triceps than I am leading myself to believe. Okay, so I'm still doing the energy transfer through my feet. You probably, if you're looking closely, not seeing it because the weight on the machine is heavy enough to scratch out that little bopping whatever movement that I'm doing. Okay, getting heavy, my form technique, shoulders back. I move my head so the brim of my hat doesn't scrape on the cable. It means nothing otherwise. And that would be rude. So you have to see my F face instead. All right, so that's that. Done and dusted. Okay, so this is that little unique shoulder exercise I was telling you guys about. Pretty basic, allowing myself to have my feet sort of more forward than vertical and straight up and down. And I'll bow back on this as a leaning. I need some sort of technique to lean forward. So I'm going to be bowing forward and keep my back relatively straight as I bow forward. And I'm keeping my elbows behind me, slightly behind me, and almost as if they're pivoting off of an axis that is running through my ribs this way. I don't want them to move forward and back. I want them to just be stuck in the same position. Then I bow myself down, all right? Then I'm gonna hold my elbows at 90 degrees and rotate outwards. I don't have a very good external rotation, so you'll be able to criticize the shit out of me there, which is fine, completely accepted. But what I do want to make sure you guys understand is that the movement itself is isolating the rear shoulder, the rear delt, okay? By bowing forward and doing it this way, I'm only trying to isolate and squeeze the rear delt. So it's gonna work. It's not gonna be the best or the prettiest and the biggest range, but it definitely works. I can attest to that. I'm gonna feel it. I'm doing it last because it's a small muscle and I'm gonna fatigue it. I don't need a heavy weight, as you can see. It's all technique. And squeeze, and come back. Okay, 15. I'll pop up just a tiny bit. This is not really hard for the muscle kind of exercise. So I'm gonna keep it only at another 5 pounds. As I am trying to work that muscle a little harder. It is the last exercise I've got and the last set of the day. So I can pretty much squeeze out all the energy I've got left in there. So yeah, that's the exercise. It's just a rear delt isolation. There's a lot of bits and pieces involved as far as keeping the posture of the spine neutral, although allowing a hip flex from the hip, a hip bowing. I'm trying to keep my neck in the same alignment as my spine. I don't have the best posture in the world. So by emphasizing the word trying, please give me a little leeway there. I'm also trying to make sure that the bicep doesn't do any pulling, so it stays locked at whatever position that is. And I'm squeezing my upper traps together. So it's kind of like a seatbelt connecting together at the top of trap and upper rhomboid and keeping them sort of stabilized as much as I physically can. I can't see and I don't have a spotting partner to let me know. So I'm trying to overemphasize the thought of where I am and where my body is in space and trying to see if I'm maybe leaning forward more, letting go of one shoulder blade, rotating or whatever. There's a lot of bits and pieces going on. So mentally it's a little bit of an exercise, a little bit of work. So I'm happy to do it that way because I'm a little bit more in tune with my body and how my body works and how it's feeling. So I'll just utilize that. Enough rest, last set. I'm trying to go for again about 13, 15, 16-ish.
I should be pretty happy with that, with the weight increase, second set of the exercise, the last set of the workout. Oh, Scheiße. 17 or something. That's probably the most I think I've ever done on that. That was 20 pounds. So definitely feeling stronger, getting stronger. Maybe there's a little bit of motivation because you guys are with me, which is kind of how I work and function anyway. I tend to find myself training better, harder, and longer when there's eye candy and big, strong dudes around. I'm trying to lift more than the guys, and I'm trying to look cool in front of the girls. I guess it's a little stereotypical and stupid, but it motivates me to go a little longer, a little harder, do a bit more. As I've worked out for years and years and years, I found the motivation and the inspiration kind of comes up and down, fluctuates. So what I found is my little ego is always there. Mike is always there. So I found a way to feed him and the ego, and that's how I figured it out. So there's always enough motivation to get a decent lift out every time. Outside goals, perspectives, and ideas are good also for that motivation and inspiration. But the in the gym workout, the in the gym energy, the in the gym power comes from myself talking with Mike, and Mike telling me X, Y, and Z while I'm telling Mike A, B, and C, and we meet somewhere in the middle. So that wraps up today, my training session today. We did 2 shoulders, 2 triceps, 2 biceps. So light recovery session. It's a Sunday afternoon. I'll be posting this on probably a Wednesday morning, so a couple days to edit and stuff. But essentially, it's a Sunday session. So let it be how it is and what it is. I'll see you guys on the next one.